SMJP 1062, Material Science. Second half of lecture by Hafizal Yahya. This is a highlight video before we proceed to each chapter. Firstly, we will look to our new calendar. This is a third edition academic calendar semester 2 2019-2020. This is the latest academic calendar, and as you can see that we have 5 weeks lecture before Hari Raya. And after Hari Raya, we have another 5 weeks lecture, and after that we have a 3 weeks final exam. For the assessment, in second half we have assignment which is for 5%, and then we have test 2 equivalent to 12.5%, and finally we have final exam which is 60%. The rest of the percentage which is assignment, the rest of assignment which is 10%, and test 1 is also 12.5% is done by Dr. Azmah. And for teaching, basically during from April to June, I will proceed by using 3 kind of teaching. The first one, I will be using the PowerPoint slide, which is will be uploaded on our e-learning. So every chapter I will upload it, and then by using PowerPoint video, each chapter will be divided by part A and B, but it depends on how many slides. It will be uploaded on e-learning every week. Finally, by using video conferencing, which is by Webex, this one will be used based on the request by the students, maybe for discussion, because of 60 to 70% of the content in this subject basically more on facts and understanding of the mechanism and analysis of phase diagram of particular material. For the communication, we will be use WhatsApp, which is basically used for maybe discussion or news. And finally, for the attendance, we will use a QR code as usual and will be published on our e-learning. We have 4 chapters will be covered. Continue from the chapter number 5, which is dislocation and metal strengthening mechanism. In this chapter, we have several subtopics, starting from each screw and mix dislocation. In this subsection or subtopic, you already learned in the previous chapter. In this chapter, we will look at the elastic and plastic deformation, basically by looking at the atomic movement. And then for the mechanism of deformation, we will look on elastic and plastic deformation due to the atomic movement. For the mechanism of metal strengthening, this is the way of metal strengthening takes place. It can be discussed by using several steps. This part is very important in order to understand the process of metal strengthening. And finally, in the chapter 5, we have cool and hot working. This is related to metal forming process. And then you will have a new term which is recrystallization. And also when plastic deformation of metal is carried out at temperature above or below recrystallization temperature. Proceed to next chapter, which is chapter 6, phase transformation. Several subtopics, which is phase equilibrium, whereby you need to understand the definition and basic concept of phase diagram. In this subtopic, we will look at the map or graph indicates the phase equilibrium at the function of temperature, pressure, and composition. We also look at the copper-nickel phase diagram, whereby discuss on the composition in percentage or weight percentage composition at the copper-nickel phase diagram. And then we proceed for the Gibbs phase rule, whereby rules used to calculate or identify number of phases that coexist within a system at equilibrium. And then we have construction of phase diagram. And finally, in chapter 6, we will discuss on lever rules, microstructure formation, and kinetic of transformation. In this subtopic, we will discuss more on microstructure formation, which is from the nucleation during the metal solidification process, involved from liquid to solid when temperature is reduced. In the chapter 7, which is carbon steel, we have several subtopics, starting from allotropy of pure iron, equilibrium diagram of iron carbon. In this subtopic, we can see the information of ferrous alloy, which we call it iron carbon phase diagram, and the composition of carbon in percentage in the ferrous. It will be produced type of carbon steel or iron carbon. And then we have heat treatment of steel, whereby we will learn a different type of heat treatment ranging from annealing, quenching, tempering, maltempering, and etc. And followed by time temperature transformation diagram, or we call it TTT diagram. In this subtopic, we will discuss on graph indicates temperature versus time at carbon steel phase diagram. You will discover a new term such as eutectoid, austenite, pearlite, cementite, and many more. And finally, we have maltempering, house-tempering, hardenability, cast iron, alloy steel. This is the process of modifying the properties of steel by using different techniques, including the process named Germany and quench test. Finally, for the final chapter, which is non-ferrous metal, non-ferrous metal is a metal including alloy does not contain any iron, okay, or ferrite. We will discuss mainly on copper and its alloy, aluminium and its alloy, and several alloy which is Mg, Ti, and Sn, and etc. Okay, thank you very much.